actually still fear God? You know what I mean? Do they fear God? Do they fear hell? You know what I mean? Do they understand what could happen if they don't get their lives right?
Yeah.
From the dead.
Preach the gospel anywhere. Stop by rappinggrace.com and join the movement.
What's up, y'all? This your boy Thizzle. You know what it is, man. I'm in the field with the Trackstars.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Regis, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. This episode is brought to you by audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Trackstarz with a Z to get a free book on us. It's also brought to you by our new sponsor, Gamefly. So if you're into video games and you like to try video games out without having to spend a lot of money, you can send them back if you don't like them. You get a 30-day free trial from us if you go to gameflyoffer.com/Trackstarz. That's gameflyoffer.com/Trackstar. So if you like the game life, go ahead and do that. Also, we have a new sponsor. You thought I said gang life? Yeah. If you like that too, I mean, they got Grand Theft Auto on it. Also, we have a new sponsor. If you like the glasses I wear, these are Warby Parker glasses. Warby Parker is a new sponsor of ours. You can get Warby Parker 5-day home try-on kit from us if you go to warbyparkertrial.com/Trackstarz. All right. So get your free kit. They send you a bunch of glasses for you to try on. The glasses are super cheap and they're awesome. They're really good. I love them. So basically, instead of going to you go get your eyes checked and they give you like $300, $400 glasses and tell you it's like 20% off, it still end up being $400. These are $95. There's 95, 125. I would get two if I really wanted to. So warbyparkertrial.com/Trackstarz.
That's what's up. And also sponsored by wrathandgraceclothing.com. Make sure you go to www.wrathandgraceclothing.com and check them out. Check out the men's apparel, the women's apparel, and also they do music as well. They got an artist result, man. So make sure you check out their tracks too. And please be sure to go to www.trackstars.com and follow us on Twitter at Trackstars, Instagram at Trackstars. Each and every Monday, look for the podcast. You go on to iTunes, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a comment. That helps. For our YouTube channel, if you're looking for more than just the topics, you're looking for noteworthy, you're looking for dissect, you're looking for line for line, make sure you go subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can know exactly when we drop the newest videos.
All right. So make sure studio is crazy today. We're trying out some new stuff and it's very complicated. Anyway, so today we're gonna be doing a noteworthy. We realized you guys have been sending in a lot of noteworthies and we have been ignoring you. So today, this one is called Erasing Hell. All right. Said this topic is a tough one often feared or unspoken. I've started recently reading Chan and Sparkle's Erasing Hell. It is a book addressing the issues between what God says in his word and what we simply made up. A lot of people don't want to talk about hell and heaven, but how can we just be content in living our lives by ourselves and not addressing this issue? If we're concerned with, as it's said so many times in our podcast, kingdom things, then shouldn't we also be burdened with the questions concerning the eternal outcome of our friends, family, and loved ones? Same thing with hypocrisy. How can I not pursue God with everything I have? Why would I remain in my sin knowing that there is a place where I can be with him and the alternative is a place away from anything good, anything that's love? This is sort of specific, but I don't want to necessarily be like this. Please address the subject in any way you feel. But I feel like a subject like hell would definitely get some people riled up in a good or bad way. And I guess that's better than being lukewarm. Cheers from Switzerland.
Ooh.
All right, Erasing Hell.
Yeah, man.
What y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting the way he brought it up. You know, we've been thinking about talking about this for quite some time. So yeah, let's dive into it.
I mean,
that's what I said. What do you think?
It's a real topic, but people don't usually like to talk about it because it's, not happy, joyful. You know what I mean? Like it really hits you hard and it forces you to assess your life. So I think that's why a lot of people don't like talking about it, but it's necessary.
Well, one of the things that bothers me is that a lot of the prosperity preachers avoid talking about it.
Or grace.
Yeah.
Pastors.
Yeah, that too. And that bothers me. That bothers me because I think it's the real truth that we need to know so that we are doing everything. I was talking to Sean about this earlier, and I was earlier this week, and I was just saying, do people actually still fear God? You know what I mean? Do they fear God? Do they fear hell? You know what I mean? Do they understand what could happen if they don't get their lives right?
Yeah.
And it's scary because I've been reading about all these different countries that they risk life and limb to read their Bible, and they can't come out, and they have to watch who they witness to, because it might be somebody that will go back and tell the opposite religion, like, hey, this person is a covert, so we got to take them out. And so it's really been making me like look at myself and say, man, I've got to make sure. I was reading Job earlier this week, and I was just like, the fear that he had for God was amazing. You know what I mean? And the way he had to withdraw when God was explaining who he was and what he did, all of that is just amazing to me. And I think that we are losing the fear, and part of that is because not enough of these mega church pastors, these televangelists, are talking about hell like it's a real place.
I mean, I think a lot of times in our attempt to get people to convert or to make Christ palatable, we don't include the challenges that come with it. The fact that you will be persecuted once you make this decision, that, you're going to have to make some real adjustments in your life. It's not just accept Christ and everything goes great for you. It may be the very opposite. And I think we're afraid to tell that part because we're so busy trying to, get people to accept Christ.
Wow. I think hell is a real place. And I think it's sad that if people are not hearing that in a service, then we're doing them a total disservice, because then we're not telling them that, that our narrow way is almost like the narrow way when he talks about in the Bible, when he talks about the broad street is broad and you can walk through it and it's going to lead you straight to hell. Well, the narrow way is like smaller. And I think the thing is we're not teaching people that, because then that will bring a fear of God. And I mean, it could bring a fear of God, and then also it could bring a fear of you trying to cross every I, dot every T too. So it's a kind of sometimes it could be a trick of the enemy to make you so hell conscious that you're not living free. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too. But at the same time, I think we should preach about hell more.
Why do televangelists and mega churches shy away from it? Why don't they want to talk about it? Why don't they want to present that side of it?
I think this is what happened. I think over the years, Christians got accused of trying to scare people into salvation.
Yeah.
Being more afraid of hell than loving God, which is a real concern, because you don't want somebody just to become a Christian because they're scared of hell. You want somebody to become a Christian because they love God. Yeah. They love Jesus. So I think we were leaning too hard on fire and brimstone. Then we swung completely in the opposite direction and stopped talking about it at all, when the right thing is right in the middle. So I think that's why people are afraid to talk about hell that much, because they don't want to make it seem like you're going to hell if you don't. And then it feels more like a burden to accept Christ instead of like, I love him. I want to be in his family. You know what I mean?
I think another thing too is don't be tricked by the world, because if I see people's interviews, I see everything, and they talk about somebody died, they always saying he in heaven, he in heaven, he in heaven, and then like, if you ever think about it, it's like heaven must be full of people, because nobody going to hell. Like,
yeah, I never heard anybody like, and you knew they were sinners, right? Their whole entire life, right? I never heard anybody like, you know what, that person's going straight to hell, and I know it, right? I'm sad they're gone, but they're going to hell, right?
Yeah,
there was a issue where some kids had gotten in trouble in Atlanta, right? And they were attacking somebody, and they were killed by the person they were attacking. And you just remember the eulogy at the ceremony being, or at the funeral ceremony, just being like, well, yeah, they're okay, they're good, they'll be all right. Mom, dry your eyes. Baby's in a better place. But you say that, and you're like, you're sitting out there. Everybody knows that what they died doing was not right. So you almost wonder, like, do people get? I've had a lot of family members die lately, right? And I noticed that the people delivering their eulogy didn't really know them that well.
Yeah.
And they did know them that well, actually. But I've been in funeral services where the pastor doesn't know the person they're eulogizing, and they just say all these things, and you're like, oh, I must have been a great person.
Yo, I'm going to say this.
It doesn't matter if they were a great person.
My friend, he committed suicide. And his his funeral, his first funeral, not the one his friends gave him, but the one he went back to church. That was the first time I ever kind of was in a situation where a pastor did not say, this person's going to a better place. Not one time did he say, oh, we'll see him again in heaven, right? Yeah. Never. Not once. He talked about how he was wrong for committing suicide, how he couldn't compartmentalize, you know what I mean? And how he didn't deal with the stress well, and how, he let the world kind of overcome, his relationship with Christ, all kind of stuff. But he never once mentioned the fact that he would be going at it. He did say to everybody else, though, if you don't get yourself together, you know what I mean?
He used his life as a warning.
As a warning. And it made everybody mad. So everybody in the place, right, they got upset with him. He never apologized, right? But they got upset with him for kind of going that route. And on top of that, like when they talk about it now, they say, man, that first one was horrible. The second funeral that they had here in Atlanta was a little bit different, right? Where all the friends talked about how, we'll see him again in heaven one day, and picking people up and having a good time with him, all that kind of stuff, right? But at the same time, he was a tall guy. He liked to pick people up.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway, like, it's a weird thing. It's a weird feeling to kind of really address the consequence of whatever your life is.
But I mean, you wouldn't want to be in that. Like, if you had a family member that like did some crazy things, but they still was a loving person towards you,
and he was a great person,
and they had their ways. You wouldn't want to be in no funeral and somebody like, he about to bust hell wide open. He gonna be down there.
But that's the problem. The problem is nobody wants to offend anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's
do you address
where
that
it is. But do you address it there? You know
you
what I'm saying?
do, because that is the time when everybody is thinking about eternity in that moment. So I mean, it's all about how you do it, though, because it's important. Whenever someone passes, everybody, whether you're saved or unsaved, you start thinking about eternity. You start thinking about, what your past was like, what you need to do differently moving forward. You start thinking, gosh, tomorrow really isn't promised. So that's all the more reason why Christ should be inserted in that scenario. But it's all about the method. It is. I mean, you don't want to bash a sinner at their funeral. You want people to be comforted. You want people to be able to celebrate their life and look at the good times. But you also want them to have a sober estimate of eternity.
What do we say to people who say, man, what are y'all talking about? We living in hell right now, hell on earth. What do y'all say? What do we say to those people?
Yeah, this ain't the worst it's gonna get.
You ain't saying nothing yet.
Half of the worst it's gonna get. But I hear people say that all the time.
Yeah,
like that's a normal thing, especially like in barbershops. Like that's what they'll say.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is hell right here. You know what I mean? But
so
this ain't it.
I think that's what he was getting at. What are some of the myths that are created about hell that we believe, but they're not actually depicted in the Bible? Because there's Dante's Inferno, there's other religions' versions of hell. Are we mixing some of the imagery from those things into what we believe about the actual hell? And what are some of those things? You got some? I know you did. Trigger.
Yeah. You mentioned Dante's Inferno. We actually have a bunch of stuff from that we take.
You're always so low when you hop on that mic.
Come on now. Come on.
I speak like this all the time.
You gotta talk about girls to
Jack,
get him to raise his voice.
Nah, then he go deeper.
Okay.
We don't want Dante now. We need Trigger. Come on.
Trigger Trey.
All right, cool. So, yeah, one thing that we kind of have a myth about is like divine retribution, which we get kind of from Dante's Inferno, where we think that if you did this on earth, then that's going to happen to you like in the afterlife. Like, oh, you were a murderer, so you're going to have to keep. So people are just going to be doing that same thing to you, or you did like people like there's some people think that you reap what you sow is the same thing as karma. So they think that when you die, the sins that you were committing on earth will be repeated back to you. Whereas karma is not really how karma works. Like a lot of people associate the way reap what you sow from the Bible is karma. Where karma is, I'm a bad person, so I come back. I resurrect after I die as a lesser being, like an animal or a bug. And if I'm a good person, then I reach nirvana, which is the Hindu version of heaven. Whereas reap what you sow is, you treat people a certain way, then those things will come back on you because of the way you treated them in the first place. It has nothing to do with God punishing you for what you do or blessing you. Like if you obey, then the blessings will flow.
So where does the modern day karma comes from now? Because now you hear rappers, you hear television shows, you hear everybody talking about, yo, he did her wrong. Yeah, that's karma right
because
there.
they're mixing the religions.
Gotcha.
Like they grew up in church, but have heard things from other religions. And take them and make them the same thing in their mind.
Does hell exist in karma, or you just go back to a new life?
No, you simply just keep going. Like, I guess their version will be like you end up coming back as like an amoeba. I don't know. Like you just keep descending. You basically just keep descending until you do better.
Yeah, when I was with the monks,
so you basically have infinite chances. That's basically how it works. You have infinite chances to do better, and if you don't, you just stay a lower being.
Wow.
Yeah, the monks were really like I was dealing with the monks and they were kind of, seeing that, right? And they thought maybe the lessons being you can come back as like an insect or something, right? Mm-hmm. And then I started showing them bacteria on the microscopes and they were like, oh, you can come back as one of those too, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of weird. But they believe that. They absolutely believe that it's possible that you'll die, right? If you don't do well here, you'll come back as, some lesser being. And it's a weird thought, you know what I mean? But...
Yeah, it's in a lot of other religions, and sometimes in Christians who don't understand, there's like levels of stuff. There's levels of punishment, levels of heaven. So in the karma thing, it's like the life form you are right now. The goal is to become the ultimate life form, which is oneness with God. Yeah. Or if you mess up, you go down in life form. So it's just like this constant point system of where you are.
But in that way, you avoid hell the whole time. Like you never, like if that's the system, if that's a real
then
thing,
your consequences aren't that bad.
Then you're confident. Yeah, then you can have another chance.
That's what I was gonna hit on. He said you have infinite chances. So I'm like, that kind of goes back to grace. Hell makes you make a decision, like where you realize you have to at some point make a decision, because hell is eternal, just like heaven is eternal.
Yeah, so some of the false understandings that we have are coming from the Dante's Inferno of like demons with horns and a tail and a picket. A lot of that comes from the imagery of paintings and the Renaissance movement. So there's a lot of false images of hell that we believe that we need to clear up, because you may be surprised. You may be dealing with hell and it may look like a demon and it may look like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Yeah. So you can't get confused by the imagery in the movies to think, oh, hell, demons, evil, darkness, teeth, fangs, scary faces, heaven, bright, happy, awesome. These angels are the same angels. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of confusion over hell, and I think we get really confused about it. The point is, all of us have a destination of hell. The only reason some of us won't go to hell is because of what Jesus did for us, and if we accept Him, then that's where we are. He adopts us as children and overcomes the sin that we had in our life. So that's it. I mean, if that's what you have to believe. So hopefully that helps. I don't know exactly what he was getting at, but hopefully that's touching on what he was going for. So keep the conversation going about hell, because we would love to hear what are some other misnomers about hell that you've learned throughout your life that you're realizing now aren't true. All right, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstars, Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.
Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your man Ryan Righteous of the Trackstars, man. I want to tell you about an awesome feature called the Music Submissions. You know how they say nothing's ever free? Well, that's a myth with Trackstars. Send us your music. We'll add it to SoundCloud for free. There's also an opportunity for you to be able to get your song aired on the radio.